This is a sketchbook tour. This is the Royal Talens Art Creation sketchbook. They come in different sizes. This one is roughly the A5 one, and I really enjoyed this. So sketchbook, this was from January 2022 to September 2022. So this is a long overdue video. But yeah, so had a label maker, made a sketchbook. I have stickers from other artists that I'll list out, but this one's by Via, this one's from the washi station, these are mine, that one's by, you know, this one's also mine, and then this is also the washi station. I don't have a lot of variety in this sketchbook stickers cover, but so the first day that I started was technically the last couple of days in 2021, and I ended it on the 2nd of September in 2022. That's my stamp. I like to kind of test my stickers in my own sketchbook. But yeah, so the first page, we skipped it, and here we go. So as with any new sketchbook, I kind of like to do an experimentation of how the paper reacts to certain mediums. For example, here I'm doing watercolor, and to kind of see how the colors flow, the water flows on the page, how it dries. I think this sketchbook is actually quite good for watercolors. Of course, it's not as good as, say, actual watercolor paper, but for a sketchbook, the colors do show up quite bright, it dries quite easily, and whatnot. So yeah, that's the first page. This was the first illustration that I finished. It's done in watercolor, color pencils, and I think Posca. I have a video of this up that I'll link. But basically throughout this sketchbook, it's a lot more color compared to my last sketchbook tour, which was more ink drawings. And I think I pushed a lot of boundaries with this one, tried a lot of new things. So hopefully you'll see that as we kind of go along. So yeah, this was the first illustration. It was done on the 28th of December, and it was basically a bunch of leaves. This was a Musha illustration. It was from an exhibition here in Taiwan that I attended, and I really like his illustrations, so I cut it out and taped it here. And that was kind of what inspired this illustration, which is for the Narcissus. And this was kind of an idea that I had for my Patreon botanical study, which I basically reinvented the whole style of what my botanical studies would look like this year. And this is kind of the one that started it all. It was inspired by Musha. And this is how the illustration turned out in the end. But yeah, it's quite nice. So you can see I tweaked a lot of the colors here just because it wasn't showing up great here. The colors were a lot lighter. This was also the start of me using watercolors for my Patreon botanical study, which is nice because it's also the start of the sketchbook. Basically, I think the first couple of pages in a sketchbook really help set the tone for anything that goes on afterwards. And for this sketchbook, I want it to be fun, to be a lot more experimental. So here I was just mindlessly drawing random shit. These are the first two sketch pages that I had. This was actually based off of a plant that I have in the living room next to the TV, which was where I was when I sketched this. But yeah, 2022, this was probably done on New Year's Eve. This is a structural sketch of the Musha illustration here. Kind of just breaking down the shapes to understand stuff. That was my first tiger. It kind of looks weird. Looks very weird. Looks more like a bandit. But yeah, anyways, so moving on. This was also New Year's Day. It was also a very random sketch, just to kind of loosen things up, get back into drawing. I really like this sketch actually. This one was done with a watercolor base and then just colored pencils on top. This was kind of my first foray into layering color pencils over watercolor, and I was trying to figure out how I liked it, how I would use shadows, and playing around with negative space here. This one is different because this one is a lineless art, which if you know my illustrations, I tend to do a lot of line work and I really enjoy doing line work. So this lineless art was kind of me figuring out how can I use different colors to create the boundaries between the different leaves and whatnot. So this piece I'm really proud of just because of all the experimental things that are going on here, the different mediums, the art style, and yeah. So I really enjoyed this. This one took quite a while. I was very careful with this sketch, very intentional with it because it was something new. But yeah. So this is also another Musha illustration collage that I taped out. I think this is the Celestial series. This is also another concept, basically Lily of the Valley growing inside the bottle. I like the concept of it. I don't like how it was executed here. I don't know what's wrong with it. I just don't love it. But I tried something new. This was also done purely in color pencil as well. So yeah, I need to redo this drawing. I don't know why I don't like it. I just don't. But I like the concept. So there's that. Sometimes that's the way with art. You try things and they don't necessarily work out, but then you try again and maybe it'll work next time. I did a whole ginkgo leaf study, which is one of my favorite leaves to draw. It started a whole obsession. Well, I say it started. This was already in the middle of the obsession. And this was an illustration, sunflower illustration that I did. This spread actually turned into the 6-month milestone print for my patrons that I'll include a clip here because I don't have the print with me right now. So the next page, this is a bunch of sketches that I did of Void, essentially this cat character that I have who is kind of like a ghost cat, and I was just trying out different positions to kind of see what would work. This one's actually really cute. I don't know if you can tell, but it's kind of, Void is looking up and he's holding his little tail. I really like that one. But yeah, this one is also another concept that I like the concept of, but I don't love the execution of. I think just similar to the Lily of the Valley, I was trying these whole like glass things. But I don't think I have a good concept of, a good grasp of how to draw glass. So it's the same thing here. Like, I like the idea of it, but the actual execution was not the best. Essentially the glass, I don't know how to make it work. I think I should give it a go again because now I think I have a better understanding of like color and lighting. So yeah, this was also done in January. I did a lot of drawing in January. But yeah, another sketch. I was really in like this glass phase then, like this bottle phase. I was also doing a lot of different sketches here to try and figure out what would work. I think all the sketches are fine. It's the execution when it comes to like color that kind of gets me. But anyways, I think of all the glass sketches, this one is my favorite because I didn't color the glass, and there's some kind of reflection here. But again, it's not the best work, and sometimes you just kind of learn. But I think from here, like these two, I overworked this one probably. I was trying too many things. Yeah, I was trying a lot of things at this stage in my art. I was doing new mediums, watercolor, alcohol markers, and then I was also doing different color line work. I was also trying different lining methods. For example, this was, I think, also done with a glass pen as well, and I couldn't get the ink flow to look right. But yeah. Oh, I love this page. This is kind of when I started breaking the whole idea of like pages needing to only be one page and looked at the whole page as a spread. But these are blue-footed boobies. I've never actually heard of these birds before until someone suggested them to me, and they're so wonky and I love them so much. And just they look clueless and confused in every photo that you see them in. They're always in like this jazzy kind of dance mood, which I adore. So I had a lot of fun kind of just drawing this, creating a spread and having fun with it. Also the blue feet are just adorable. Again, kind of breaking different spreads. This was the little toad children. This one actually went kind of viral on Twitter, at least according to my standards. But this one was just really fun to draw. This little guy here, I really enjoyed drawing this. I thought it was just a silly concept, but the more that I looked at it, it kept making me smile, and I ended up turning this little guy into this keychain, which amuses me every single time I see it. It's just kind of just hanging there, done with everything, and that was the inspiration for it. I wanted to do less individual subjects and kind of more scenery. I didn't stay in this stage for too long, the whole scenery stage for too long, but I did it here, and I actually kind of really liked how it turned out. It was also a great study in like using colors to create shadows, and then like here playing with like yellows and then like blues, and also the shadows here, like how do I use color pencils to create a better sense of depth and whatnot. So that was fun. It was a toad plop. 23rd January, I got these prompts from people on Instagram, and I just had fun with it. This actually, I really like the idea for this vase, because I was drawing these poppies and I figured I needed a vase to put them in. And this idea actually came from the spiral light bulbs. So I was looking at this spiral light bulb that I had on my desk and thought it would be fun to use as a vase. So that's kind of where it is. And then turnips. I just really like the colors on these. I don't use purples and blues a lot in my work. But I really like the idea of it and I want to use more. So this is a very colorful spread, kind of compared with my traditional, with my signature black line work. And yeah, that was fun. Again, another kind of just drawing for the sake of it piece. I actually really like this page. Every time I come back to it, I still really like it. I was trying a lot more things in this sketchbook, and one of them was to kind of be more maximalist, the way that I normally do in my illustrations. I usually am a maximalist when it comes to details, but here I wanted to be more maximalist of the spread. I wanted to fully utilize the whole page. And for here, it was basically doing a lot of illustrations stuck on one page and trying to make it look as one. And this stamp collection is still one of my favorite pages. And it's very simple, like there's no complicated color work. It's just black and white, but it looks nice. But yeah, I was also done. Oh, I did a lot drawing in January. This was also a collection of a very witchy page. It was also the toad friend again. This was an owl, or it attempted to be an owl. It didn't turn out great. And then this mandrake, I just really like drawing it. It looks so content and lumpy, and I really adore it. But yeah, this is a witchy page. I really liked it. Here is kind of the start of the new botanical study style that I started doing for Patreon. This is kind of where it all started. This was the poppy print that I did for February, and the final print came out. Here's the final print. So I started doing these like close-ups or studies of like the individual sections and combine them into one print with the color swatches. Oh my gosh, everything's falling out. So this was the poppy print that ended up, this was the final print. All the individual elements are here. They're scanned, edited, and then turned into this print, which I send out to patrons every month in case you're a shameless plug. These are, it's an A6 print, and this one doesn't have it, but on the back there is a whole study of like related folkology or herbal uses, or basically a whole study on the back. But yeah. I was basically recovering from this whole like January massively creating art phase and then coming back here. I was in a weird mood here. So it's like a note to self. I will be kind to myself, give myself time to try and be bad at new things. I will learn to forgive my mistakes, place myself first, and heal from past trauma. So this is kind of just a page to be more gentle with myself, and to be nicer and to kind of let go of the whole perfectionist kind of mindset. This was a study on begonia leaves, which is one of my favorite leaves, and I was doing a different study of like, okay, this was black, and essentially kind of yin and yang, using black as the main color as opposed to the usual white. This was a spread that I think it was also suggested by patrons. Essentially, I was kind of in that funk of wanting or feeling the need to create, but I didn't know what I wanted to draw, and I was asking patrons for ideas, and And I really like this guy. He's just confused. I really like drawing confused animals. It's one of my favorite things to do. This little mouse guy and strawberries. This is the start of drawing fruits. And I think this was just me trying to draw different things. It's ferret, again confused. This was me drawing an orange. I was also doing the line work with colored pencils, which I don't normally do because I think it's harder to control the depth. But I really like how this turned out. It's kind of soft. It's kind of nice. And then these are different fungi. And then this round bird. Yeah. Another page of random sketches. This I think was it was inspired by Katria. I saw her sketchbook spread once, and I really like how she did the background with the black work, the line work. I like the line work she did, so I took a screenshot of that and then kind of used it as an inspiration here. Poppy pods, which are always cute. This again was also trying a different kind, a more delicate way of coloring with color pencils. It's softer than my usual work, and I really like how it turned out. Also, this sunflower compared to my usual sunflowers is a lot more elegant. It's less dramatic, which I think is a nice change. And then you have this little bird skull. I love drawing skulls, and they're always fun to draw. And then you kind of have all the leaves growing out, which I think is just fun. That's my washi tape, my Monstera washi tape, which I'm very proud of. It's foiled. Here I was practicing the hydrangea that I wanted to challenge myself to drawing for my Patreon botanical studies. And it was my second time drawing hydrangeas. The first time being an utter disaster. I never finished. So this was my second attempt. This served as a blueprint for the full watercolor illustration I did afterwards, and turned into my botanical study print, which I'm really proud of. Like, I was terrified of hydrangeas, and I challenged it, and it came out cute. So this was for March's botanical study, which is kind of where I did it. This was probably done in February though, end of February, start of March. But yeah, again, kind of having more fun with color pencils and different style of line work. I think this was also done. I was trying to do line work in different colors but on the same line. So here you can see like the blue line work but also the purple, and then sometimes it changes in the middle of the petal. Again, trying with the glass illustrations, but it's not great. I don't know what's so hard about it. It's the reflections, and I can't seem to get it right, but I think I improved a lot here. So there's that. And then ferns are always fun to draw. This one is also very lineless. This is a lineless work. This one has lines and shadows. But yeah, it's fun. Also, I really like drawing tape for some reason. So there's that. I didn't paint on this page because this was, the base was done with alcohol markers with colored pencil on top. Yeah, there's that. This was also like a lot more delicate. It was done entirely in color pencils. And it's also lineless work. Trying different colors here. This is overall a lot more softer and delicate than my usual work. I really like how I did the centers here. Just soft. I don't think this has, this one doesn't have any base underneath. No, that's not true. I think there's a slight watercolor base underneath. And then just soft color pencils over the top to create more depth and shadows. And honestly, this is still one of my favorite core execution bits. But yeah. A fruit page. I was inspired a lot by Anna Sienna during this time. Anna did a lot of illustrations for like fruits, and I just kept seeing them all day. I kept going back to them, and I wanted to try my hand at them. So I did a lot of fruits, and kind of making them more my own with the way that I line stuff, the way that I color stuff, the way that I use black ink. And I really like this page. It's still a very fun page. It's still very colorful, and yeah. This was kind of, here I did begonias. Again, love begonias. Different styles. for this begonia, I kind of just pulled up reference photos and then did them slowly. The way that I colored them here is also using a lot more natural colors as opposed to like the bright greens that I usually use. And I ended up turning this page into a sticker set. Here are two of the stickers. This one's that one, and then this one's this one. There's also one here that I don't have a copy of at the moment, but yeah, I really liked it. This one was really fun to draw. Also, I love kind of incorporating little hearts into these pages, because why not? Here I was doing a study of how different leaves curl, and then how the shadows would look, how the line work would look. Just to get more dimension and dynamic into the way the leaves are drawn. I was in my toad obsession phase doing this. I initially wanted to turn this into like a holographic sticker, but I never ended up doing it. Oh, this was the time that, this was my first time properly using gouache. I love how other people used it. I just never figured out how I like to use it. So here I was trying out gouache, and I was being really ambitious. I was doing this full spread my first time using gouache rather than like small individual subjects, and I had a lot more painful time than I thought I would. For some reason it didn't click in my brain that I could mix gouache the way that I do watercolor, and I was just very confused and overwhelmed, and then got this page. It's not like, now that I look back at it, it's not bad for my first time. But I think I was just really frustrated that I wasn't immediately good at it. So yeah, both of these pages are done with gouache and then watercolor, and not watercolor, color pencil over the top. And I was just trying to fix a lot of things. So yeah, now that I look back at it, it's actually pretty great for a first attempt. I do not remember feeling like that. In fact, I felt the opposite of it when I finished it. I hated these spreads, but I was also very, very proud of myself for trying something new. So it's my first gouache spread. Very fun. Here I was also attempting to draw roses, which are my kryptonite. It's the one flower that I can't seem to get right, and I keep trying, but it always looks weird, and it still looks weird. I don't know how to get it right. I'm just gonna have to keep practicing. This was also my attempt at trying to be more colorful, be more fun with colors. It's a bit psychedelic. It's not my best work, but it was fun to do. Essentially using different colors of hues to create shadow and light. But yeah, you try and you learn. This was also, yes, so if you see anything with blocks and then color palettes, it was done for a botanical study. This was April's. It was chamomile. This was the final print. I keep all my test prints, so that's why they don't look great. But basically the final ones always look great. So this was the chamomile one. This is actually surprisingly hard to edit just because of all the white space. And you can see this paper is not white. So after scanning, and then some of the details didn't show up, so had to be physically edited, digitally edited a lot more. But yeah, anything with blocks, and then this is got turned into a botanical study, and it's something that I'm very proud of. And then here I was in my bird phase. I started my bird phase, and in my color blocking phase. And that's a little robin, that's a hummingbird. I was just having a very big color moment. This was a chicken. And it looks wonky, but I really liked how I used colors here. I think it was a mix of gouache and watercolors, and then also brush pens. And essentially I was trying something different in terms of how I use colors. So the way that I used colors before were always kind of more realistic, but I wanted to push those boundaries. And here it was more kind of the start of the disco animal style that I ended up doing for a couple of months. And this was the start of it. I really like how this turned out. I think some of the inspiration was done from Lay. So the way Lay uses colors is just wonderful. And she does also a lot of these color blockings as well. That's kind of where I took inspiration. Again, also the psychedelic colors. This was kind of my first foray into the psychedelic animals. I really like drawing snails, especially I think they give you a lot more creative energy to kind of color them the way that you want, as opposed to like plants. So that's a snail thing, and then that's a mockingbird. This was also done with fountain pen ink as well. I started using inks to kind of create bases for that. And then this was my first attempt at a scenery painting, which turned out surprisingly well. Like, I've never done scenery paintings before, but I really like how this turned out. Very proud of it. Oh, I love this page. I still love this every time I see it. Basically, these are my discoveries. And it was kind of the height of my color blocking illustration phase, and I just had a lot of fun with these kookaburras, which I think are a fun bird in itself. Like, the head is so large. And then I bought new gouache during this time. Also busted out a couple of fountain pen inks that I don't really use in my actual fountain pens, to create these fun illustrations. And these 3 of these birds got turned into a sticker set, and here is one of the mockingbirds. That's that guy. And then 3 of them come in a set. But yeah, this page still makes me smile every time I see it, and I do love them so very much. This was the snail phase. So other than the birds, I drew a lot of snails, again with the color blocking, different ways of using gouache ink line work as well. I also started writing notes about how I can improve next time. So for example, this one, I felt like everything was too complicated with the shell, even though I really liked how it looked, like the shape of it, but it got overly complicated and you couldn't really see any of the details underneath. This one was fun because I used a lot of blues, which I don't usually use in my work, but then I combined them with like the greens that I used a lot more, and this was just fun to do. Also, I wasn't lining the way that I would usually use. Like, for example, here all the line work is around the dots, but here it kind of overlaps, a bit messy. These 2 snails are still my favorite. I did so well with them. Like, I think I kind of got through the initial phase of needing to splatter color everywhere. And here I was softer with the colors. I was more intentional with the color palette. I wasn't picking up every color from my palette. And then I ended up making this purple snail and this green snail. And along with, I think, the first snail here, it also got turned into a little sticker set. And this is that guy. Yeah. I love them. They're so cute. They're so soft. I went through a phase here and I'm really proud of myself. These pages are still some of my favorite pages in this whole sketchbook. And you know, it was kind of throwing away that sense of needing to every illustration be perfect and you could just try things. So this is, I think, kind of where I pushed myself a lot and had some kind of breakthrough with my art and with colors. So kind of after that breakthrough, I paused a bit, hit a slump, and was kind of in that weird phase of not knowing what to draw. This is just me trying out different leaves, different ways that clouds flow. This is a spread of our guinea pig, kind of just sitting there watching him do his stuff and just drawing, having fun with it. This is his signature plop. He has a very big butt and a very small head. So yeah, his name is Shooping, which means hash brown. But he's more chunky like a potato. Skulls, again, very fun. Also did it with the whole psychedelic color thing. My study of pansies, which I don't know. I like how many variations, like color variation, this flower has, but I don't love this flower. I don't know why. So this one was the Notre Dame de Paris is one of my favorite musicals of all time, and it came to Taiwan. It was supposed to come last year, but then the whole pandemic thing, so it ended up coming this year, and I got tickets for my birthday last year, third row seats, and this was kind of the day after musical, and I just wanted to draw like the signature bells, because, you know, I just wanted to commemorate the fact that I actually saw my favorite musical in person, third row seat, in my sketchbook, and this was the way that I did it. And I wrote the date here, the 16th of April, 2022. Yeah. This was a parrot tulip. I'm very proud of how this turned out. But essentially, it was done with markers, and I was, unlike the way that I usually do it, I was trying to leave more white space in between, and to be more free and less color blocking with the way that I use colors here, for the actual tulip. And I really like how it turned out. I'm still very proud of myself for it. And then, yeah, it's very fun. It's still one of my favorite flowers I've drawn. Also, I love drawing ruffles. I love drawing ruffles, and then the shadows, and then the different folds. It just brings so much dynamic into a very simple, straightforward flower, I think. 17th April. Again, not my favorite spread, but I did something, and I tried something. I love this piece. I love this piece. So this was also suggestions from patrons, and one of them suggested that I draw an otter, and the otter kind of looks like the Pokemon here, but I really love him. He's so friendly, and he just wants to give you like a flower. And then this snail is the continuing kind of my snail journeys from before. This was a sunflower snail. On 18th April. I basically whizzed through the sketchbook at the start of the year. I slowed down a bit afterwards. I really like him. He's great. Oh no, the third snail. The third snail in that collection, in the sketchbook collection, was these two snails, and then the sunflower snail. Those were the three in the sticker collection. But yeah. Here is color study of greens. I redrew the sunflower snail again from the previous page because the way that it was drawn here made it hard to edit. So I drew it again and then turned that into a sticker. Another page where I tried to draw rose again. Turned out better. Still hate it. And then this was kind of me experimenting with leaves. Mostly I had fun with the background. And then the color changes. I love a good galaxy background. My chickens! I love chickens. So here was sunflowers. Again, this one was done in marker. This one was done purely in color pencil. This was done in a rainbow pencil that I have. And then here is my chicken. I love him. He's so cute. It was again in that bird drawing phase, and then the whole using colors. And this is a chicken that I'm very proud of. The line work here is done in gouache entirely. So here is like the main body where it's supposed to be white is done in a very light wash of watercolor with some gouache on top. And then for here it was just fully gouache, undiluted. And I really like how this turned out. This is my baby. Again, boxes, color palettes, botanical study. This hibiscus was done for May. And here is the final botanical study that turned out. And yeah, my favorite part of this illustration was just this color that I used. It's a orange yellow, which I don't use a lot of oranges in my artwork just because it's not my favorite color. But I really like the soft marigold orange that I created here. And then I started incorporating it more into my later works. Yeah, that's that. This page, my trash panda. This was done in Payne's Gray, entirely in Payne's Gray, because I wanted to do more of a study on like basically the variations of that one watercolor when diluted and more concentrated. And it turned out cute. Turnips, I love turnips, I love this color, and just had fun. I love the color of turnips. I don't use that color much. I basically only use that color when I'm drawing turnips, but it's fun to do color swatches. Again, another page of suggestions. Basically, if there's a lot of subjects on one page, it was usually us basically taking prompts from patrons or from on Instagram. And these are the prompts. My favorite is this guy. I ended up drawing it digitally again just because I think it's very cute on how confused it is. Also, I really like the colors here. Again, more subject studies. This one was acrylic paint, I think. I was trying to understand how acrylic paint would work on my actual work, because yellow is one of my favorite colors to use in illustrations, but it's usually very transparent. And I was wondering if acrylic paint might be able to fix that. So I got a cheap bottle of acrylic paint and then kind of used it for the details here. And I don't think I used it again after this. But yeah, love the wonky pose. Basically, when I draw birds or animals, I like drawing them in weird poses just because why not? Soft bunny. Soft bunny is so cute. I love soft bunny. Very sad that I actually spilled water on here and I didn't use a water resistant brush pen for this, but I love soft bunny. Basically here I was learning to do more like basically how to use color for shadows on white subjects, and I think it turned out quite well. I used pink and soft yellow on this one, and then this thistle, a very soft, entirely done in color pencil, no line work. Very proud of how it turned out. Yeah, this was kind of me experimenting again with acrylic paint from that I bought here, and I was mixing it with, I think, gouache. So here I'm not, basically it was an experimental thing. I wasn't planning on it to turn out well. I didn't expect myself to like the end results, and I don't. But it was a quick and dirty experiment, and I learned that maybe next time. So yeah, another page of sketches for leaf studies, basically trying to understand an arrangement. This was a reference photo off of Pinterest, I think. And then here was just understanding like curved leaves, how they kind of fold into the center, what their shadows would look like, to go from there. Oh, my star plant. I had this idea in my head for weeks before I actually painted it. And this toucan. It's a very fun toucan. I think I overworked the dots, so it kind of looks like it has chickenpox, but it looks very coy and shy and a very good gentleman at the same time. So I really like him. This was done end of May. So yeah. Oh, this one. This was, so basically I wanted to create rainbow iris for, again, Patreon Botanical Studies, and I definitely overworked this piece in my sketchbook, so it looks very dull. But the final illustration, I'm very proud of how it turned out, is here. This is, if you look at it, this is the base for all the digital edits that went on later. So I colored it a bit more digitally, and this is the final result. It's a lot more colorful, it's a lot more fun, and it was done for Pride Month, which is very apt. So this was June's botanical study, and I guess what you can learn from here is if you botch it up traditionally, you can always fix it digitally, even though it's painful sometimes. So yeah, kind of back into the phase of being more fun. This was summer, and I was in like this fun, trying to make my artwork more fun, more summery, and more lively, and I started drawing fruits again, and it was just fun to do. I think the fruits on themselves, the arrangement was fun, but then actually just adding all these like random color squiggles around it, in more concentrated watercolors, brighter watercolors, just brought the whole illustration to life. And I mean, looking back, this spread still makes me very happy, and I'm very pleased with how it turned out. But yeah, oh yeah, scenery. So I was doing more sceneries. I wanted to do more sceneries here, and I think I did quite well. I think this is, where is this? This is in Canada, and this is the Isle of Skye. It's a flat paint brush. The different tool allowed me to kind of try watercolor and painting in a different way, and I really liked how this turned out. I think I originally created these with in mind to kind of create a collection that didn't pan out, kind of went a different way. But I was doing a lot of these squiggles at the time, and this kind of was the start of me incorporating squiggles into my artwork. And tulips, I think, are also becoming one of my favorite flowers to draw, just because the structure of them is so simple, but the way that you kind of switch them up either with color or with ruffles is just, the possibilities are endless. So there's that. And then the next page, these are studies that I did with watercolor and gouache, I think. And then I just did them on watercolor paper, taped it in here. Still really love this piece. Essentially, it's also more busy with all the illustrations in the back, and then also the block lettering, hope and peace. That's what ginkgo symbolizes. So yeah, I love drawing ginkgo leaves. You'll see a lot more later on as well. And then here I was doing a color study of one of the paints that I got. Basically, this one is the study for Shinhan Permanent Yellow Deep. I was trying to understand the light fastness, the transparency, the pigments that they use, how it mixes with other colors. I really like how it mixes with opera gold, just because it's so bright and neon. I don't know how to use this in my actual artwork yet, but I love the colors. And then here I was comparing it with, no, I wasn't. Basically here, this stage, I bought a lot of new yellow paints, and I was swatching it and comparing it with, basically comparing them with my different, with the other paints that I have in my collection. For example, that one's from Shinhan Lemon Yellow, that one's the Winsor Newton Cotman Collection Lemon Yellow, and then kind of see how it compares. And I think this was kind of the start of me doing color studies with watercolor, and then basically understanding the properties of different watercolors, more how they mix, and then understanding pigments and transparency and light fastness. So it's the start of a great journey. This is something that I do now every time I get a new watercolor, just so I can familiarize myself early on with the properties of that color and then what it can do as well. Again, another study. This one is with the greens that I have, and then it mixes with the blues. This, I was trying a thing. I was doing, I think, plums. I don't remember what it was, but it's not my better works, but it is what it is. And then, oh yeah, this was also a concept that I had, Guinea Pig of the Valley. It was essentially, the idea that I had was create Lily of the Valleys, but instead of flowers, these would be like different animal heads, and then here it's guinea pigs. And it started as a cute idea, but then I tried coloring it, and then it turned into a mess. So, yeah. And then here is also another peach illustration. This one is done differently in the sense that I was a lot more less blendy with the way that I use colors. So you can see that it's kind of patchy here, creating something new. And then these were using Tombow markers, so limited to the color palette that I had. I really like this illustration to this day, just because I think that was kind of the start of when I started being more patchy with colors, and I really ended up liking how it turned out. And it shifted my illustration style a bit, my watercolor style a bit, to what it is today. Another leaf study of how leaves curl, and then the shadows. I really like doing these when I don't know what I want to do. Just studying these, pulling up reference photos, and then just understanding how leaves kind of curl and fold on each other, how it creates these, how light and shadow plays into it. Is still one of my favorite things to do. This is a sitting pigeon, the little crown. I think I overworked the colors on this, so it's kind of dark, but I still really like it, and he's very fluffy, and it is kind of a royal, like this neck area kind of reminds me of the huge white colors, the fur colors that were on like the red capes that kings from medieval times had. I don't know if kings from medieval times actually had red capes, but it was always depicted that way in like the cartoons that I watched, and that reminded me of the color. Yeah. So these were new paints that I got. Quinacridone Gold, one of my favorite autumnal yellow gold colors. This one was geranium red. Basically, it was a swatch of the new paints that I got and how they would mix into each other. This was a study with quinacridone gold, other than that red. Basically, every other color here is quinacridone gold. You can kind of see how different the color changes depending on how much water there is or how concentrated it is. And basically, it mixes so fine with other colors to create a nice autumnal palette. For July's botanical study, I wanted to do a water lily, and this was kind of my practice page on the leaves and then on the actual flower itself. I ended up painting the actual study on actual watercolor paper, so that's not in this sketchbook, but the practices. Again, sunflowers. I was trying to do more full page illustrations. I don't think I ever finished this. This one's, I guess, kind of finished. This one was just, I did the line work and I was like, nah. But yeah, sometimes it is the way it is. But yeah, basically the way that I did it was I painted 2 full pages and I was like, I don't know what I want to do with this, and I ended up painting sunflowers. So there you have it. Again, kind of in that art block, but I had a lot of blues in my watercolor palette and I wanted to see, basically playing around with the blues, the different shadows, the values, and understanding what each blue looked like. This is the fern, love a fern. This was done entirely in watercolor. Love a good fern. I never finished this illustration with the line work as well because I just got tired of it and wanted to move on. But I really like kind of creating the different colors here in the same leaf of the fern. So yeah. These were color studies, trying to do more wet on wet. This was a reference photo following a tutorial / reference photo from Anna. I'll link her video down below, but I don't think I executed it properly because I got impatient with the work, but I learned a lot from here. This puffin, I don't know what I was doing. I don't know why I chose the color palette that I did. And it was definitely overwork. It looks a bit messy and a bit muddy, but you learn stuff and you become better at it next time. And sometimes you look back and question your own choices, like I'm doing here. Like, why is his face orange? It's weird. Anyways, this was me doing acrylic ink. I've had this bottle of acrylic ink for a couple of years, but I never really used it much, and I wanted to see, this was kind of an experiment of how it would behave on different paper. Could it be mixed with watercolor? Could it be mixed with gouache? Could it be mixed with fountain pen ink? And then kind of to see the studies of it on different types of paper as well. And this is, the base is entirely acrylic ink with the details on top being watercolor, and to see how it worked and everything else. But yeah. This was also a page that I started because I was having an art block, so I took a brush and I took some leftover paint and I created 3 blobs on here and kind of created this outline and decided I did not know what I wanted to do with this page, didn't like it, and then I moved on. Yeah, so here, the colors here are a bit weird for the next couple of pages because I bought, what did I buy? Oxygol, because apparently that that enhances the drying time, so you can kind of blend colors better. But what I didn't learn is that you have to be very careful with the amount that you use, and I overused it here, so the colors turned out very muddy. And you can see that in the next couple pages. But this, I did another ginkgo spread. This was intentional because I wanted to create motifs that I would later use for washi tape. I'll share it later. But yeah, these were the motifs. This was the first version of it. It turned out very muddy. I hated the colors. But of course I didn't learn, and then tried to do it again, like Oxygol. I never finished this painting, right? So here I have a note of, with Oxygol in the water, and then this was 6 drops in the water jar that I used, and it turned out too much. So everything is very muddy. It's not clean. I used acrylic ink as an underpainting here, which is not the reason why it's so muddy and blotchy. But I just made a note, so next time I know what would happen when it happened. Yeah. So me swatching different colors of watercolors. This was unmixed watercolor because usually I mix it up in my palette, and I wanted to see all the colors here as they are straight out of the tube, and they're very nice. So these two, sorry. So after, I really like the sketch for this one, the structure of the leaves and then the peach, but I was really frustrated with how it turned out. So here I redid it again, and you can see the colors are much cleaner this time, with the leaves and whatnot, and also having fun with the squiggles. This was sketches that I did for St. John's wort, which was August's botanical study, and here was kind of the structure of how it would look. and then just doing different studies of how the petals would flow. I ended up drawing this, also painting it on a different page as well. So we don't have the final illustration in my sketchbook, but we have the sketches. Yeah, so this is kind of the motifs that I did again for the ginkgos. This page is a lot more simple just because I wanted to get the motifs done. So that's kind of the way it looks like. I'll insert a photo of the finished washi tape. Hello? But yeah, these were the motifs. I was in a washi tape design mood here. So I did a washi tape that was basically full of the botanical studies that I did for Patreon. And I really like the narcissus, but because the narcissus that I created initially up here didn't fit the style that I ended up doing for the rest of my botanical studies, I redid it again in the style that I did for the botanical studies. And also in the tape, we also incorporated the peaches and a couple of other fruits as well. And the tape turned out really nice. What I was trying here is to learn how to create depth with line work. So theoretically, the leaves in the back have less detail than the leaves in the front, which create a sense that it's further away. But I got overwhelmed with adding details, and I added details to all of them. So I really need to do this idea again. But I really like the concept of this painting, like leaves growing up against the night sky. Yeah, I was trying to draw trying to paint a baby tapir here, but then I got bored and my ADHD moved on elsewhere, so I never finished this illustration. I do like the colors. Oh, this was again the same rendition, the same illustration, but like done in watercolor. Again, I didn't finish this, I don't think. So basically the idea here was the leaves in the front are brighter, they have a lot more detail, and then the ones in the back, they aren't lined and they're darker. But I don't think the contrast, I never finished this painting, I don't know why, but I think it does create more depth here, like in this bit, and then the leaves back here. I need to try this again. I think at this point I was just almost done with the sketchbook and I just wanted it to be done, so a lot of the illustrations in the back aren't finished. Like for example, this one is also half done as well. I did the sketch and then I did the colors with marker, but then I also did like color pencil on top in very sketchy style, which I later adapted. This was a study for like bloodroot, which I did for September's botanical study. Again, it was just trying to use up the pages of this sketchbook, because as much as I love this sketchbook, like this is one of my favorite sketchbooks because of how many different things that I tried here, all the colors in it, all the new subjects, and it's just fun and not perfect. But at this point, because there were so little pages left, I just wanted to move on. So it's a lot more messy back here. So bloodroot, and then this was also a page. I tried drawing rocks here, which I think I want to try again. And then these are insects because I realized I don't know how to color insects. But I really like drawing them. So there's that. And then the last page, I was really ready to be done with it. So you can kind of see I was filling up the pages for the sake of filling them up. And the one way I was doing it was essentially doing color mixes. So these are the greens that I use a lot. But then I was trying to create a better, like for the bloodroot, I was going to create more sage color. And I was mixing them with the contrasting colors, for example, red and orange here. And then quinacridone gold to kind of see what would be the best way to create that shade. And then because I had all the greens already mixed, I just painted begonia, which it turned out really well. Like I just love begonias. You can't do wrong with them. Also the little hearts. But yeah, that's it. That's done. That's how I finished my sketchbook. I finished this one relatively fast in 9 months. I think it has like, what, 80 pages or something like that. I'm very proud of the sketchbook. It's still a sketchbook that I kind of look back on, and most pages I really enjoy, or even though I don't like the execution, like I learned a lot from the process. And yeah, so this is my sketchbook. I hope that it allowed you a glimpse of how I create art, how I grew art, how I tried new things, and that you like this tour. I will treasure this sketchbook forever. But yeah, thanks for joining me. I hope you liked the video, and let me know what your favorite page is. Thanks for joining me. Bye!